guys, welcome to another IndAmerica video. Okay, so just to clear up, last time I said about finding Indonesian news in Jakarta Post. Well, if you don't like to watch newspaper or download it in your iPhone, whatever, you rather see actual news, you can actually go to metrotvnews.com. Okay, I think it's aired directly from Indo or something, so you can watch it all, stream online and stuff. That's all one word, Metro, METRO, TV. News, news.com, and you can watch the news, and the newscaster is like speaking Indonesian, everything is Indonesian, so it's like streams directly online. That's to get a first-hand base about what Indonesian TV like. Another question that I heard from is what Indonesian show we can watch on YouTube, and that is Opera Van Java. Is an Indonesian variety, kind of like a comedy show. How do you say it? Like SNL here in the States. It's called Opera Van Java. Opera like Phantom of the Opera. Van, V-A-N, like Van Halen. And Java like the island, J-A-V-A. Okay, Opera Van Java. The thing I have to warn you about is I don't know if they have English subtitles. So if you're watching it, you don't understand, go ask your mom or something. And they will be speaking in like Jakartan dialect. So they would use a lot of slang. Oh, Betawi. They would use a lot of slang, and they would mix it a little bit with like Javanese as well. So then go ask your mom. I'm pretty sure they would know. It's probably the language they grew up with. All right. So that's it. Make sure you check both metrotvnews.com and Opera Van Java. You can just type it up in YouTube and it'll pop out. All right. Now or today we'll talk about notable Indonesians. If I'm the only Indonesians well, there's a lot other ones, and they are way greater than I am. Okay. The first one, and if you ask this in Indonesia or people that are here in the States or even anywhere around the world, any Indonesian around the world, if they ask them the number one Indonesian, probably the first one that will come up to their name is Sukarno. Yes, Sukarno. He is Indonesia's first president, and you know what's the great thing about him is I hardly hear any bad news about him. I'm pretty sure he has some dirt under his sleeves. Politicians are all like that, right? But he's a lovable guy. That's what I heard from people. Yeah, the people adore him. Okay, so he ruled Indo for about 18 years. He is our first president, coming out of Commonwealth and just a lot of people exploiting the country. He is a sign. He is probably the epitome of freedom, of leadership, of strength, of courage. So, people just adore him. Kind of like George Washington. You know how you always hear quite a good thing about George Washington. They hardly talk about the bad thing about George Washington. So Sukarno is kind of that guy. So if I have to pick, the most notable Indonesian is probably him. Okay. Of course, there's not just only one notable Indonesians. The second one actually is the second president. Suharto, Suharto. You can wiki or Google him. He, however, as great as he is, he actually ruled the country for 36 years. He has some good things and bad things. When I say about good things and bad things, it's the opinions of the people, okay? I think he's a true great president. He gives us this new order, pushing Indonesian forward as far as industry and economy goes. So, yeah, I can say bad things about him, Just another politician that can fall under corruption. But I have to say, he's probably one of a notable Indonesian. In fact, if you talk to politicians, they probably know who he is. So, okay, enough about Suharto, as I don't want a lot of nasty comments or just people that watch this video having weird comments. Okay, so enough about that. The third probably, and he's another like all good, most notable Indonesian, is Rudy Hartono. Now, if you play badminton, you would know this name. He's probably the most famous, not the most famous, but one of the most famous actually, player for that sport. Okay, Rudy Hartono won 8 All England Championship. In fact, he won 7 of them consecutively. And I know a lot about him because every Sunday when we play badminton with my dad, he always talked about Rudy Hartono. He always said, Rudy Hartono, whether he plays with a professional player or whether he plays with a kid, you know, he'll play wholeheartedly. He just must win, and you just gotta play that way, having that attitude when you play badminton that way. So for all those badminton birdie servers out there, Rudy Hartono is probably one of the most notable Indonesians, just because he is a great sportsman. I mean, you guys would say the same thing about Michael Jackson. I mean, Michael Jordan, right? So, another most notable Indonesian I want to talk about is a female. Her name is Atika Shubert, and you might guess, well, Shubert, you know, like that's not an Indonesian last name. I think that's her husband's name, though, I believe. I'm not sure about her personal life, what it is, but Atika Shubert is currently a CNN correspondent. She's working out in London since 2008, but she actually joined CNN in 2000. In fact, I think she's probably the first Indonesian. She graduated in Indonesia and went to study somewhere else, but she's probably the only Indonesians that the first one to work for CNN. So man, I used to remember her because people always like, wow, if we finally has an Indonesian correspondent, we have somebody in CNN that, you know, and she speaks fluent Indonesian, she speaks fluent English. So Atika Shubert, Atika Atika, and Shubert as in Shubert. Okay, I mean, she's a woman, she's in journalism, and she's Indonesian. Bam! Of course, I have to put her in my most notable Indonesian list, right? Okay, so this next group of people I'm going to talk about is also Indonesians, but they actually have actually Indonesian and foreign born, you get it? So Indonesian and something else, so they're kind of like a mix. So we call those kind of guys orang Indo or orang Indo, because they have mixed blood. Indonesians have nothing, you know, against mixed blood. I have nothing against mixed blood. What we're just saying is usually you know, they're cuter usually. They're mixed blood. Anyways, alright, so the first one I want to talk about is Michelle Branch. Yes, the singer Michelle Branch. With the guitar, Michelle Branch. Okay, if you don't know, now you know. I think her mom is half Indonesian, so she's like a quarter Indonesian. So, right? And in fact, I heard this in her interview that she actually likes gado-gado. Okay, gado-gado is an Indonesian salad with peanut butter, not peanut butter, with peanut sauce. If you watch all the IndAmerica video about Indonesian cuisine, yes, I mentioned a lot about gado-gado. Also, if you're you don't like a pop song that much, and you might not know who Michelle Branch is, you guys probably know who Van Halen is, right? Eddie Van Halen. Okay, the Van Halens are actually half Indonesians as well. I think their mom is half Indonesian, like Dutch Indonesian. You guys do know that Dutch ruled Indonesia for over like 300 years, so there's a lot of mixed race right there. I told you in the beginning, Indonesian is like a fruit salad, so it's just mixed everywhere. So there we go, Eddie Van Halen, man, how could he not be notable, right? All you rocker fans, Van Halen out there. Okay, never mind, let me not get in my mood. Okay, another one is, and he's a poker player, and you guys know that in the recent decades, professional professional poker players are quite famous because they always appear on TV, is John Juanda. I think his real name is Johnson. Okay, John Juanda, and he's quite up there. In fact, some poker players I know actually mention his name. Oh, you're Indonesian, you know Juanda? I'm like, yeah, dude. Great, right? See? Okay, so hopefully I'm not the only Indonesian or Rock Java is not the only Indonesians, Now you gain 7 more Indonesians, and they're all quiet and much greater than I am. Quite a notable Indonesians. You go to any Indonesian person or to Indonesia itself, and then you mention those names, people will be like, oh, yes. Oh, good, you'll be like that. Okay, so for the word of the session, it has to start with J today, is jangan. 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 You probably heard this a lot if you grew up in an Indonesian home or Indonesian speaking parents. Jangan means don't. Do not. Okay? So, if you're a kid, jangan pegang. which means don't touch. Jangan tidur melulu, which means don't sleep all the time, wake up, something. So jangan, you just use it like don't. You just put it in front of the word and then you negate it everywhere, It's just a negative command all the way. So jangan makan, jangan tidur, jangan mandi, jangan nonton terus, jangan gak suka video ini. So please post your most creative use of jangan in the comments below, and we'll see how well you do speaking Indonesian. Alright, and please do make sure check out those guys that I've mentioned earlier. Some of them dead, some of them still alive, most of them are still alive actually. So get to know what Indonesian people are like and why they're quite notable, right? For someone like me to actually mention them in my video. Spend like 12-13 minutes on it. Alright, bye bye. Oh, sampai jumpa lagi. There you go. Sampai jumpa lagi means until we meet again. Alright, or like see you later.